My brother stood at my mother's grave and told everyone she had changed her will to leave him the bakery she built for 30 years. I almost dropped the flowers I was holding because I was the one who drove her to sign the real one. My name is Renata. I am 41. My mother passed 8 days ago from a stroke and I had barely eaten since. I had been sleeping in her house because I could not stand the quiet of my own apartment. Every morning I walked downstairs expecting to smell coffee, and instead I got nothing. Just the hum of the refrigerator and her handwriting still on the grocery list stuck to the cabinet door. My brother Dominic flew in from Phoenix the morning of the funeral. He had not visited in 3 years, did not call during her final 2 weeks in the hospital. He showed up at the church in a suit I had never seen, smelling like airport cologne, carrying a rolling bag he apparently could not be bothered to leave at a hotel first. He hugged me at the door like everything was normal, like he had just stepped out for a long weekend instead of vanishing while I was managing her medications, driving her to cardiology appointments, sleeping on her couch during the bad weeks. Our mother's name was Gloria. She came to this country from Portugal at 22 with almost nothing. She built the bakery from a rented commercial kitchen and a folding table at the farmer's market. By the time I was in middle school, she had a storefront. By the time I was in college, she owned the building. She was up at 4 in the morning every single day. She knew every regular customer by name. She also knew her son. At the reception, about 40 minutes in, Dominic stood up and called for everyone's attention. I was in the kitchen refilling the coffee when my aunt came and got me with a look I could not read. He had printed something, a document. He held it up and said that in her final weeks, Mom had reconsidered how she wanted her estate divided. He said she felt the bakery should stay in the family name, and that since he was the one carrying the family name forward, his words, I am not making that up, it made sense for the business and the building to go to him. I walked across the room and held out my hand. He hesitated. Then he gave it to me. I read it once. The language was off in ways hard to explain unless you had seen legal documents before, which I had. The date was wrong relative to when she had been admitted to the hospital, and the signature had the loops going the wrong direction. My mother had a very specific way of writing the capital G in Gloria, a tight backward curl. This one went forward. I folded the paper, handed it back, and said we could talk privately. Then I went to my car in the parking lot and sat there for 4 minutes. I was not panicking. I was remembering. 3 weeks before she died, on a Tuesday afternoon when she was having a decent day, my mother called me into her bedroom. She was sitting up with the lamp on, which meant she wanted to talk seriously. She looked at me and said, Dominic is going to try something after I am gone. I know my son. I have always known him. She was not angry. She was just clear. The way she was clear about recipes. The way she was clear about everything that mattered. We called her attorney that same afternoon. His name was Mr. Ferreira, a quiet man in his 60s who had handled her business for over a decade. We went to his office 2 days later. She signed. 2 witnesses signed, notarized, and filed. She left Dominic $4,000 and a box of childhood photographs from the hall closet. She left me the bakery, the building, the renovation savings account, and a handwritten note on the back of a recipe card that said, you stayed. That is not nothing. That is everything. I went back inside. People were still standing in small groups, the room quieter than before. Dominic was near the window talking to my uncle. I walked over and set his document on the table between us. I said, that signature is not even close. He started talking about how I had always been the favorite, how the bakery should have been split from the beginning, how nobody ever gave him a real chance. His voice got louder. A few people stepped back. I did not raise my voice. I told him Mr. Ferreira had a copy of the real will. The court had a copy. The notarization was dated and witnessed, and that if he wanted to pursue this, he was welcome to hire an attorney and find out what that process looked like. He left before the food was served. My aunt came and stood next to me after he walked out. She did not say anything. She just put her hand on my arm, and we stood there for a while. That was 6 weeks ago. The bakery reopened on a Monday. I was there at 4 in the morning, same as my mother had been for 30 years. I turned the lights on and stood in the kitchen for a minute before I started anything. Dominic has not reached out. I have not either. Some mornings I think I should. Most mornings I just make the bread. Full story on the channel linked below.